the most important thing when you're starting any company is making sure you have the leads. You want to make sure that you're getting the leads because the leads are transfer to jobs, and then you got to produce the jobs to get the money. If you can't sell a job, it doesn't matter how good your work is. If you can't sell the job, you can't win the job, you can't do the job.
All right, welcome back to Success Unleashed, the show that was created for contractors, specifically to help them with the tools, the tactics, and the techniques that they need to build a better business and ultimately a better life. Today we have another special guest, and I'm going to give a quick little intro on him. So Spencer Hayward is our guest today. He is the owner of Swift Hand Painting. He's owned the business, started it 4 years ago with his wife. He lives locally in Salt Lake City. He is not just an owner, but he also delves into real estate, which we may or may not have time to talk about today, but it's actually a really good topic, especially for you contractors. Have your money start making money for you. But really what I want Spencer to talk about is, hey, how did you get to where you're at today, which is he's on pace to do $2 million this year, $5 million next year. How did you get to where you're at today? And then what is it that you're doing, not just to help yourself and your business grow, but also other painters as well? He runs a Facebook group specifically for Utah-based contractors called The Gathering of Utah Painters. So without further ado, our guest, Spencer Hayward.
Well, thanks for having me on. We've been talking back and forth about 2-3 years now, so I'm glad we can finally, I think I had you, before we had an office, I think I had you at my house.
Yeah, your home office.
My home office, you can't always have a fancy office when you start, so.
Well, and that's the thing though, is as a contractor, it's funny that we're kind of starting on this path. As a contractor, it's much less about the fancy truck, the fancy office, the fancy anything. It's about, can you actually do what you said you're going to do?
Yeah.
Right? So talk about you when you started your business. When you started your business, were you thinking, how do I personally become the best painter in Utah? Or what was your thinking behind that?
It's never been about the specific trade for me. I was, at the time I was working for $15, $16 an hour at Home Depot. And I was selling doors and windows. I think I was about to hit $1 million for the year selling for Home Depot, but they don't give a commission there. So I was making $16 an hour selling $1 million, which I felt was a little, not necessarily unfair. I signed up for the job, but felt like it was a little bit, I didn't want to do that.
You think you could do better somewhere else?
A little bit better somewhere else. And my business partner, Daniel, he's been a painter for about 10 years, and he knew the ins and outs of hand rolling, cutting, rolling. He knew the ins and outs of painting. And I had worked for a guy that flipped houses for about 3 months. And Home Depot was my experience in the contracting industry. And so what I did is I said, hey, I called him up and said, hey, I know that you're not happy with where you're at in life right now. Move to Utah. We'll start a painting company. It was just as simple as that. Sales is a really important part of any contracting business. If you can't sell a job, it doesn't matter how good your work is. It doesn't matter. If you can't sell the job, you can't win the job, you can't do the job. And so, of course, quality is also important.
100%. So you got into this, you were in the space, if you will, but working for Home Depot.
Yeah.
Which shout out to Home Depot for messing up my weekend this weekend on a painting job, but that's a different story. But you were good at sales. I mean, obviously, if you're selling $1 million a year, you weren't being compensated for it, but you were selling $1 million a year.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at sales. And so you had this idea, hey, I want to go start my own painting business, but I don't want to do the work, right? You had the realization that you weren't an expert in that. And you said, hey, I want to go do this. Mm-hmm. So you and Daniel get together. He moves up here. Where did he move from?
He moved from Alabama.
From Alabama.
Yeah.
So he moves here from Alabama and says, let's go. How did you get started?
Well, the most important thing when you're starting any company is making sure you have the leads. You want to make sure that you're getting the leads because the leads are transfer to jobs, and then you got to produce the jobs to get the money. And so when we first started, my whole goal was just to get on Facebook and just post everywhere, and without knowing any information about the painting industry or the construction industry. It's I just know that I have to get jobs. So he got off. I went ahead and I started posting on Facebook pretty much every week, getting on all these local groups and pissing the admins off because I was posting advertisements on there and saying, "Hey, my friends just moved here from Salt Lake, from Alabama, and we're starting a painting company." And the people that we got were really good people. Some of them generated. Our first job ended up generating over like $50,000 of work. So I mean, you can't count out the Facebook post, but the whole idea was generate leads. And so that was the first thing we did. He got off the plane. I had taken our remaining money that we had, and I bought a work vehicle. So I showed up in the work vehicle to pick him up, and then we went and did 3 estimates. And then it was 8:00 at night, and then I dropped him off at the apartment that he had never seen before. And that's how he started.
I love it. Well, you bring up this really good point, right? That really the lifeblood of any business is leads, right? And you also made another comment that you didn't get into this thinking as a contractor. You got into this thinking as a business owner. So obviously you realize I have to generate leads, and maybe Facebook isn't the best place. And I know I bag on Facebook all the time, but you were able to generate something out of that, right? Can you talk about that for a minute? Because I don't think contractors understand that enough. They come from the other side of the coin, which is I'm really good at a trade or a craft, and I'm not really good at marketing and selling. You were like, no. It doesn't matter the business. If you can't market and sell, who cares about your craft? What was that like for you? Like, how much time, energy, and attention have you put into marketing and selling?
Well, like in general,
Yeah, for your business.
Oh gosh, I had so many nights, so many mornings, so many lost hours of sleep thinking about how to make the systems work and line up. But I mean, it's that's pretty much mainly what I focus on right now as a CEO of my company. I know that bringing in leads at a proper price, and then shooting them out to make them from leads to appointments, and then getting appointments to get to my salespeople to actually go and do appointments, to actually have them sell the job, and then that starts the production process. That's thousands of hours, easily thousands.
When you started off, you were doing the organic method, right? So you were reaching out to people on Facebook. What else were you doing to generate leads?
Organically, kind of like without costing any money. I mean, there's so many great options for free leads. Facebook, Facebook groups, Facebook posts. There's Facebook Marketplace. I still have my guys. They go and my office goes and puts like 60 painting listings on Facebook Marketplace. About half of them get taken down because it's not allowed. But we'll go and we'll see if we can get 20 to stay up, because the algorithm will cut off 20 and then half of them will get reviewed, or a third, I guess. But, that's a good one. Home Depot has a pro referral program. So most painters don't know about this, because I tell them all the time, like, Home Depot will literally give you leads. I think we've gotten over 100 leads from Home Depot this year.
Wow. I
mean, that's 130, 140 leads. And then this year so far, and we close 30, 40% of them, and our average job size is like 6,500. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Home Depot, there's some specialty things as well. There's so many different things. You can go and do door to door. Door to door costs no money, especially as a painting company owner. Going and knocking doors, door hangers, going and talking to the local Sherwin stores. You can, if you got the money, you can go bribe the people there. Just give them $100. Say, hey, just give the next one to me. Give the next lead to me. Here's $100. there's going to the other local painting company owners, making a deal with them. We have at the Salt Lake Benjamin Moore down on 21st South. It's a local painting, local paint company here. I gave them a link where they said anyone that fills out this link and gets on the schedule will use their paint. Well, now they got all their customers are already going to be using their paint. So it's not like they're giving any more work away. And anyone that we get automatically gets that lead. Those leads come in. We know it's from the Benjamin Moore in Salt Lake, and then we use their paint. And now they have an extra $30,000 in revenue. We have an extra $300,000. And that's another option. There's so many different, people don't think creatively enough when it comes to marketing. There's so many things that you can do for free.
I love that. And we harp on that all the time, which is, listen, you can spend money on ads. And I know,
we spend a lot of money.
You're an expert, in paid traffic, which we'll talk about here in a second. But you can build a very successful business, painting or otherwise, with organic marketing, right? I like to call it shaking hands and kissing babies, right? That's what you were doing, whether it's with Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, or Benjamin Moore, or Facebook groups or networking groups. Like, there's so many opportunities knocking doors. Like, you have to, though, get out and go talk to people. They're not magically, one, going to know who you are, two, be able to like pick you out of a crowd.
Another one, and then I've talked to so many people that people call me like, oh, I'm not getting any jobs. I don't know what's happening. I'm like, what are you doing right now? I was like, I'm sitting at home watching the kid. I'm like, what the, like, make some calls. Are we allowed to curse on here?
Sure. Yeah.
Make some fucking calls. Get off the fucking couch and go and make some damn calls. Like, there's my business partner and I have done like cold calls. Every single time we do a list of cold calls, we can get 4 or 5 estimates. 4 or 5 appointments, not even leads. Those are 5 appointments. So it's like 3 hours calling maybe 80 realtors. You can call all those people. And that's when we're doing it by hand, manually typing each one in, checking it off, sending them an email, sending them a text, making sure we got the 3 things that we want to do, calling, texting, and emailing every single one of them. We just go down the list.
I'm going to pause there for a second because you just uncovered I think a golden nugget for contractors. Like, it's not about what we call touch point, right? You're not just calling them, you're not just texting them, you're not just emailing them. Talk a little bit more about what your method is. So if you're cold calling, so people, if you don't understand what cold calling is, it's people that don't know you and you don't know them, right? So it's completely like cold, not warm, not hot. So you're cold calling realtors, which if you're a contractor, realtors are your friends. Okay. They may all want to have you, use them to sell your house. I get it, but you should be friends with them. Now, talk about that method for a second. Like, how long have you been using it, and what is it that you make sure you do every single time?
So there's a variety of different like scripts, and they're always in our head anyway. Being the business owner, we know what we want, but we also can determine that, like, okay, so a real estate agent, what do they care about? They care about price and they care about speed. All right, so I'm gonna cater my sales pitch on speed and price. All right, so what else do I want to do? Okay, well, they're a realtor. I'm gonna compliment them at the start. So I get on the phone. I say, "Hey, Bobby, you don't know me, but we're a local painting company. I'm just reaching out. We're reaching out to the top realtors in the area. We're trying to work with some new people. We're a newer company. We just wanted to introduce ourselves, see if there's anything we can do to help, see how we can help you out." And so, some of them you'll get a lot of rejection. You'll get a lot of voicemails. And if if it is a voicemail, you just leave that. And then you send them a text, and then you send them an email, because I want to make sure that they know, hey, we're their painters. So when they need a painter and they can't find a painter, they don't know who their painter is, they'll go in their email or Gmail or whatever they're using, and they're going to look up painter, and they'll see a painter, painting contractor, Swift Hand Painting. They'll be able to see us 3 times on their feed. But we'll focus on, like, hey, we have a great deal for real estate investors. I know that are mostly selling homes or helping people buy homes. And that helps people know. Oh, if you're selling 3 houses this month. Well, we have a great option for selling houses. Any job that you need done, we can do it in 3 days, and we can basically get it done same week. And we can make sure it's one tone, be very beautiful, great for pictures. We'll make sure the house goes at least 5% higher. Like, we'll get your ROI on that. You'll get your money back plus more. And that's not coming out of your pocket. That's coming out of your client's pocket. So you're making more and they're making more. And so it's tailoring that thing. There's contractors, there's real estate agents, there's designers. Like, don't think that I'm saying call real estate agents so you just limit that either. You need to be calling designers, real estate agents, realtors, groups. I've called, we've had lists of like over 100 different, like, I have a list, a Trello board like just like basically a long board on a long virtual board of just real estate agents that we move over once we've called them, once we've texted them, if they got a response, saving their phone. It's not hard though, you know.
But it does take time.
Takes time. It's a time-consuming process. But like I said, if you get 80 calls and you do it at the right time of the day, you will get four or five appointments every single time, and that 4 or 5 appointments is a whole day of work for you for an estimator, a project consultant, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Sales guy, saleswoman, salesman, whatever.
Yeah.
Or painter. If you're a painting contractor or general contractor and you have that, like that's money.
So true. So true. My office right now is in the same building as a real estate brokerage. And they ask me at least once every 2 months to come in and talk to their agents about some aspect of contracting. And then this last time they asked me, hey, do any of the contractors that want to come in and present to our group? 15 minutes with 30 to 60, depending on the brokerage, 100 different real estate agents.
Sometimes, yeah, the Parrot group was 80. Mm-hmm. We put in some time there,
Yeah.
You get a presentation going. You give them, I gave them the freaking prices. I say, here's your prices. You don't even need us to come do an estimate. You need to go in here. You just tell us when you want the job to start. We'll fucking start it. Like we're not messing around. And that speed and that accuracy and that timeline, it makes a difference, because other painters, they probably already have other painters that are half the price, but they want to get this on the market right now. And their painters book 2 months out because they're half the price.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I love it. Let's talk a little bit more about paid traffic, right? So now we're transitioning from organic to paid, meaning you're giving dollars to Google or Facebook or somebody else, Angie's List, Thumbtack, to generate those leads for you. When was it that you made the decision to transition? I know you still do organic as well, but when was the time that you made that transition over to paid? And what was that experience like?
So organic and referral-based clients always going to have a higher close rate. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning, you always feel a little bit more discouraged, because you're all of a sudden you're now getting to the point where my close rate went down 10%. I'm closing less deals. It's going to almost feel, you might have to get a little more competitive on your pricing. We were first year, we were just at one crew. Second year, we were up to 2 crews. And so in order to keep that, and by the end, we were at 3 crews. Well, we're not smart, and we didn't plan for the winter. We wanted to make sure our team stayed busy. And so that's the first time we did paid marketing, was out of necessity. I need to pay money to keep my company alive. It is no longer sufficient to run 3 crews organically. And so that was our first realization. And so we struggled, and we brought in plenty of work through the winter. We hired a company. I won't say their name. They did okay. Not great, not super happy with how the end results were, but it didn't matter if they were super average or even below average. It kept the lights on. It kept the painters busy. We didn't make a profit all winter. We made $0, but we kept our painters happy, and it kept our team busy. And I'd rather give them 40, 50 hours a week and keep them busy and keep their families paid than pay myself a penny. I don't even take a check right now. I don't need it. But like at the time I probably did need it, but we worked like 4 months, 5 months for free. Not really. You're owning the company. You work for free all the time. I'm not getting paid for this.
So that's an interesting point, right? And if you're listening or watching right now, here's the important thing that I want you to take away, right? Is we like to think that, we figured out one thing, so transitioning it to another area, another avenue, another source is going to be seamless, right? And you heard Spencer talk about, there's a dip in close rate and close percentage because it's new, right? You haven't done it before, and these people don't know who you are anymore, right? It's a little more of a colder audience. But listen to what he said, right? Like, you're going to go through periods of understanding that, like, listen, this period of time is not necessarily about making money, but it's about keeping money, right? And let's make sure we keep enough money to keep the lights on, to pay the guys. But then we can also focus on what I like to call market share. You may not make money on that first one, but if you hit gold with the right partner, now they're going to start using you for multiple jobs, like a realtor, for example.
Yeah. Well, the best example of this is a guy named John Upchurch. He's a guy up in Layton, so about 30, 40 minutes north of here. Our first job we did for him was $200. We did it off of pictures. So we had the job before my business partner even arrived. We just bid it off of pictures, and he's like, yeah, come do it. That was a whole funny story. You know, he just got in. So it was the second day he was in town. We were painting. I've never painted with a brush before in my life. I'm up there painting, you know. I went and bought overalls because I thought it was what painters wore. And my business partner shows up and said, what the fuck are you wearing? And I'm like, this is what painters wear, right? But I mean, that was a $200 job. Totally lost money. So basically we spent all day making $100 and then minus paint, which is probably $150. So we probably made like $3 an hour. And that one job ended up getting us, he was a real estate agent who ended up sending us like 5-7 homes that we did, all personal referrals, closed every single one. And then that one referral, we had another lady from that referral was named Janelle, and Janelle gave us another 3 other jobs that she recommends. It's these high referral clients. Those are so hard to find and pick out, but when you find them, they just make your company explode.
Yeah. So true, but it's leveraging the network, right? So at some point, whether it comes in off of Facebook, it comes in off of Google, it comes in off of you cold calling realtors, or it comes off of a friend, at some point, it's going to be about the relationship, right? And your quality of work and your ability to leverage that into something else, right?
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, you can't build a business just off referrals. They're nice to have, but we can't predict them. But what you can do is set yourself up to get as many referrals as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something as simple as losing money on a $200 job. But then from that $200 job, what do you think? Another $300,000 or $400,000 of the work has come?
Probably about that over the course of 3-4 years, you know? So
one simple job has turned into that.
I'm not saying lose money on jobs, though. You know,
Right.
in hindsight, I would have still never done, like, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, glad we did that job. But like, we should have never done that job. We should have just charged a little more and priced it appropriately, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. What would you say? I mean, you've been a business owner now for 4 years. You're on pace for $2 million. You want to hit $5 million next year. What would you say your biggest struggle has been so far?
Oh boy, biggest struggle. There's a lot of struggles in the business, for sure. Hiring the right people is always a struggle. You know, you make a lot of mistakes, and then you hold on to them too long. That's always a huge problem. You know, sometimes you hold on to these people because you think you did so much research on them. You're like, I know they're the right fit deep down, but it never works out. And then you end up losing an extra 10, 20, 30 grand on them before you realize that it was the wrong mistake, and you just have to say goodbye. I actually have a friend that did that. He said, I've invested 80 grand into this person. I was a sunk cost. It was preventing me from firing her. But he kept losing money and losing revenue because he couldn't sell with this person on his team, and she wasn't selling, and, you know, all these problems, you know, sent her to multiple, like, boot camps and different events, you know, thousands and thousands, like PCA, you know, literally, I think 80 to 90 grand.
Wow.
And then, so it's like, knowing when to let go of someone when they don't fit your values is a big mistake for us. We do that constantly. We are really blessed with really good employees right now. You know, knowing where to, another struggle that we've had is knowing where to push and when to push. You know, it's, sometimes life's going good and you're just content. And you're like, life's going good. Why would I increase the ad spend? Why would I hire someone? When should I hire someone? That's really hard to know. Because we recently hired 2 salespeople. And so we're up to 3 salespeople now. So I had to double the ad spend. So then all of a sudden your ads go from 25 grand a month to like 40. And you're like, did I make the right decision? We're not selling yet. So there's lots of struggles. What do you have any specific areas that you want me to tell you about my
No.
failures?
I mean, it's really, obviously we all have failures, right? But for you, I mean, it sounds like right now employees seem to be, one of the biggest, issues, hurdles, headaches, if you will, other than sounding like you kind of work through that a little bit. What was that process like for you? I mean, you talked a little bit about holding on to people for too long. What have you learned through that process?
Well, one of the biggest things that we do now, and one of the things I really should have figured out a long time ago is, one, what are your core values as a company? And why are you hiring people? Are you hiring them based off of their core values? Or are you hiring them just because they'll fit the right position? And will they still, if this person has to move to a different company, would you still be okay with that? Are they going to follow your core values? Are they going to follow who your company is, and make those right decisions for you? One of our previous salespeople that we hired, our core values are pretty set in stone now, but we made those this year. We defined them this year. So before we didn't even have them, and looking back, one of the reasons we are struggling with this one salesperson is because he lacked integrity. And we focus heavily on integrity. Our four core values are integrity, performance, professionalism, and levity. So we have 4 core values. We like to keep it simple. And when you lack one of those, if you're not having fun, if you're not performing, if you're not professional, that's going to really hurt it. And so he lacked integrity. We kept him on too long, and it really hurt us and made us lose 10, 20 grand, in the long run. Probably more if I started thinking about it more. But because there's also the lost time, the opportunity cost. I had another lady that we hired a while ago that kept showing up on time and had problems with addiction and stuff. We always love to give people second chances. We just hired her just because we needed an extra person painting. We just needed someone that desperately. And that was, she lacked almost every single core value, and so when we got rid of her, a huge weight was lifted off of her. But at the time, it felt like a weight was on us because we didn't have someone, but it only got heavier. So
that's crazy. And it's so true, right? It's like people, and as a newer business owner, you don't understand this, like businesses don't have problems. They have people and their problems.
Yeah.
Right. And so the better job you can do, one, of filtering that on the front end, like through core values, which is great, the less headaches you'll have. But then you also have to learn how to manage people, right? And you've talked a lot about managing people and your teams, and you're showing me your new office and everything. Like it's all centered around giving people the best opportunity to succeed.
Yeah.
Right. Which is huge. So there's a little bit of accountability, but it's also your job as a business owner to give them the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to talk briefly about your business model, right? Again, we talked about you starting differently. Like you're not a contractor, and nor do you ever really want to be. You're a business owner who owns a painting company, and you want to grow that into, the 8-figure range. Well, for you, the model is a little different. Like you only use subs, right? So how has that been for you as far as like growing?
Well, funnily enough, obviously I talked about being on the first paint job. I was on a paint job I was painting for first year and a half, I think. It's about the year and a half mark. My business manager, my business partner, he literally said, "Get the fuck off this job. You're a terrible painter. Do not come back to jobs. Go sit in the fucking office and just build this thing until it's sustainable for me to get off the paint jobs." At that time, we had done. We were on our second year. We were doing okay, but we were still painting on every job. So I was getting up, contractor hell, getting up 6 a.m., 7 a.m., going to paint all day, getting home at 6, sending out estimates from 7, and texting follow-ups and texting emails and calling the people that we sent the bids to. Making sure that happened till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's a lot of work. And we had no systems, no follow-up, probably losing a lot of work because we didn't send the bids out. We didn't have the follow-up. And so we eventually went from 3 W-2 crews to trying out a subcontractor and then really liking how it went. And then we gave the option for our other painting contractors, like our employees, to go be subs for us, and they all took it. And so then all of a sudden we had no painting contractor, no employees anymore, and we only had subs. And then we already had 3 subcontractor crews for us because we built them. And then we went ahead and we just started adding more subs and more subs. And there's a beauty in the subcontractor method because there's at least 2 things I can think of. The first one is you're going to be providing a need that the people that are really good at their trade and really skilled at their trade need: jobs and money. Mm-hmm. They don't have to do marketing. They don't have to do sales. They don't have to worry about working with the client. They have to go in, they can paint, and they can get paid. And so in that aspect, that fulfills their need. On our side, it allows for much faster and accelerated growth. Anytime you add a W-2 crew, you need a new vehicle. You wrap that vehicle. You have to pay for the gas and the maintenance and the oil changes. And now we're at 5 things. Then we have to pay for the insurance and the workers' comp. And then you have to deal with W-2 crews are just not as fast. I would say that they're 25 to 30% slower than subs. So then you have subs that take, Daniel and I can do a cabinet job in 3 days. And it would always take our W-2 crews, which was 2 to 3 people, so an extra person more often, 5 to 6 days. And so now that same exact crew is a sub, guess how long it takes?
3 days.
Fucking 3 days. It's just so much. They think about it a lot more when it's not an hourly wage. So there's that as well. And so then all of a sudden you're just working on sales and production, and then you have this other team that deals with all the subcontractors, and they can actually go ahead and they can make that happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just it's a much faster growth because it requires a lot less capital.
Yeah.
Maybe not a lot less capital in the marketing.
No. Well, you got to generate
it's also a little bit less stable,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, makes total sense. So I wanna ask you. You've got a model right now that's generating. Will generate $2 million this year. You're on pace for $5 million. Do you believe that you've figured out the formula as far as like, if I generate X number of leads with X number of crews, I can generate X number of money?
So I focus mostly on sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So my production metrics are a little bit off. What I find is every 2 leads equals about one appointment.
Okay.
So in order for me and then every 3 appointments right now generates 1 job. So in order for me to get 1 job, I need 6 appointments. Mm-hmm. 6 turns to 3, turns to 1. And those go up and down a little bit. And so 6 appointments, which cost me, because I have all these numbers met down, each appointment each Facebook lead cost me about $80. So $160 per appointment. And so it cost me about, let's see, $320 plus $160, so $480 to get a $6,800 job. So so that's how the math works out there, and so that's pretty scalable, and it averages out even further the more you get. So you might have a really bad job, like if you're a smaller company, you might have these metrics skewed from week to week, but when you're doing our volume, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
got a lot of data to pull from.
And that's so interesting, right? Like, I want you guys to hear what he just said. The numbers 631 don't matter. What matters is he knows how much it costs him to acquire a lead, how much an appointment costs him, and then how much it costs him to close a job, right? So with those numbers, what he can do is then turn around and scale it, right? For every $1 in, he gets X number of dollars back, okay? That's the level that you want to be at. When you want to figure out if you have a scalable company or not, ask yourself the question, do I know how much it costs me to acquire a lead, an appointment, and ultimately a sale? If the answer is no, you don't have a scalable company yet, right? But you can get there.
Well, and the other thing is most companies don't know how many leads they're getting in. Mm-hmm. Most companies, I bet 98% of the companies that are listening to this podcast now probably don't know their set rate. How many appointments, like how many leads are you getting? but how many appointments are you getting from that lead? And how many of those cancel? Not very many people track that. And so when you have a system that can track that, ours tracks it automatically. And so once you have a system that can track that, then you will know how many leads you can get for how many appointments you can get. And we shoot for 10% marketing budget. So a lot of other companies are really conservative. You can get it down to 4% if you stabilize. But when you're growing aggressively, I think we're like 13, 14% right now. It's pretty insane right now, but we're shooting for 10.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that you shared today about your business and whatnot. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so going back to that profit margins, do you guys talk about the gross profit at all? We shoot for a gross profit of 60%.
That's good.
So then we have 40% cost of goods. Our labor, we try to get between 25 and 35%, and we try to get that material cost as low as possible as well. So we're shooting for 60%. Oftentimes it ends up being about 50. We need to sell at a higher price to get those prices down. That's a whole different conversation. But that's what we're shooting for.
Love it. Love it. Again, the devil's in the details, right? You got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, good luck making money, right? Now, I want to kind of wrap things up, and I always ask this one simple question. I don't tell people about it ahead of time because I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to tell me what comes up to your mind right away. You're starting over, no crews, no partners, just you.
Okay.
You got $1,000 to your name.
Okay.
What are you doing with that $1,000?
And I have to start a painting company again?
No. We'll just say in contracting space.
Okay,
You're like, I'm running off to Mexico.
I'm going off to Mexico. Going to Colombia. You can last 3 months there.
Yeah.
$1,000 would get you pretty much everything you need here in Utah. It costs you $432 to get the license. I don't even know if I would get the license at first.
Let's forget the license. You got $1,000 to your name. You're starting a contracting business. Could be painting or something else, but you're starting a contract business, $1,000.
I don't need the money though.
Okay, so what are you doing?
Well, so should I tell them exactly what I'm going to do?
Yeah, what would you do?
If I'm starting a painting company, I'd go in, I'd make an LLC, I'd start a Facebook group, I'd start posting on Facebook, I'd start making cold calls. There's so many things that I can do for free. And my time, if I have a lot of time, I can do whatever I want. I'd go in, I'd start calling real estate agents, I'd start cold calling, I'd start putting Facebook posts, I would start generating those leads from the very start. And as soon as I could, I would start, I'd probably start spending some money on Facebook. Facebook's the easiest system to go ahead and start. I would go ahead and I'd probably spend $30 a day. So I'd get a month out of it, and I'd get plenty of jobs off of $30 a day. I'd probably get 15, 20 leads off of that. Is that right? Let's say that the leads are $50. That's
3,000. So yeah.
$20. So $50 a lead. That gets me 20 leads. That's plenty enough to start my company. You don't need any more money off of that. Put everything else on a credit card.
There you go. There you go. I love it. Well, I appreciate you making some time today to share about you and your story and your business. If there's a painter, either locally or not, that wants to get into contact with you, how would they do that?
I'm verified on social media on Facebook. So Spencer Hayward. I'm the guy in the wedding suit.
Time to update the picture.
I haven't changed that since I got married, but I'm verified. I'm the owner of Swift Hand Painting, so you can reach out to me on there and send me a message. I'm always happy to text back or go from there.
Appreciate it. Thanks again for being on the show. And again, if you're watching or listening, pay attention to the details, right? The devil's in the details. Know your numbers, know your people, know what it is that you need to do to generate more leads so you can grow your business. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go. Thanks for listening to the Success Unleashed podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by liking, subscribing, and leaving us a review. Until we see you again, it's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go.